Okay, good morning. Today we're going to be talking about circle marketing and prospecting. Here in New York, this is more vertical marketing. So, the term circle really comes from the fact that you take a map, you circle an area that you want to focus on, and that's kind of where you're going to be doing all your marketing and prospecting. Again, we talk about it in terms of neighborhoods. You can talk about it in terms of buildings and things like that, but really it's about focus, right? You pick one area, and again, you pick an area on a map, a building, a street, a block, a neighborhood, whatever it is, and you focus all of your prospecting efforts and your marketing efforts on that area to become known and to dominate that area, right? And again, here in New York, it can be as specific as one building or one street. We've got some agents who focus on one building, right? I have a building in Williamsburg where I do a lot of marketing. It's a smaller building, but I've sold, 4 units in the building. I've done a lot of rentals there. I focus a lot of my marketing on that one specific building because it helps to grow, right? And again, we have other agents who focus on certain neighborhoods, buildings, whatever it is. Maybe it's the building you live in, right? You hyper focus on there because maybe you've got a little bit better of a way into the building and stuff like that. So again, it's really simple to do this. It just requires a lot of follow-up. And the first step when you're going to be doing circle prospecting is to choose the area that you want to work on, right? So you can pick one building or one block, you can pick one street or one neighborhood, you can pick one zip code, right? And I always say for any mass email you're going to send, just pull the whole zip code, right? For maybe doing postcards, you're going to pick one building or you're going to pick one street, right? You can easily, through the Weichert Design Center, just target one street and get every apartment on that street if you want to. And that helps you control costs, which we'll get to in a second. Again, for bigger things or free things like a mass email, I would take the whole zip code because it's going to take you the same amount of time to send an email to the whole zip code as it is to send it to one specific building. So again, you also need to think about your budget. A lot of what we do with prospecting can be done for free, but as you kind of develop your career and you develop your business, there are some things that you can do for not too much money that I think have an impact that's well beyond what you're actually spending on it. So again, the biggest cost is going to be time because you have to be organized. You have to think about these things, and we're going to talk about a sample schedule for circle prospecting at the end of this presentation, where all you really need is a few minutes 3 times a week, and you can do a whole plan that's going to get you more business, right? So again, if you're going to be sending postcards through the Design Center, they're about 61 cents per piece. That's why I usually recommend, you pick 2 or 3 buildings, you pick one building if it's a huge building, and you just send the postcards to that building and you do everything else to the other buildings. Handwritten notes, right? That's something that we can do. We can send handwritten notes to owners, to renters, and things like that to stand out from our competition. And we can also pay for targeted lists. Again, I always say use what you have for free to start. We have all these contacts in Cole Realty, in StreetEasy, easy to get information on owners and things like that through Acris as well. So it's super simple to get the information. But if you do want to just pay for a targeted list, you can. They're usually not that expensive. So here's an example of a mixed campaign for circle prospecting, right? And when I say mixed campaign, what I mean is that I want to target a certain neighborhood in this case, or a building, and I don't really care if I'm getting buyers, sellers, or renters off of it, right? Or a listing for rent or stuff like that, right? I'm just trying to establish myself as the expert in that area, right? And so, oh, my numbers are off here. I apologize, but this is a 5-week campaign, right? We are going to be doing one thing 3 times a week to that same area, right? And so again, at the beginning, you're going to send a mass email and you send it through my Weichert, and all you're going to do is introduce yourself as a neighborhood specialist. Hey, it's Jason Bauer with Weichert Properties. As a longtime resident of Greenwich Village, I know what an amazing neighborhood we live in, and I always like helping people find their next home within the neighborhood. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, or rent a property, I'm here for you. I also have access to some commercial listings in case you're looking to expand your reach in the neighborhood. Happy to talk to you. Here's a link to my website, or feel free to reach out via call, text, or email. That's it, right? That's all the email you have to write. Maybe your bio and a picture and a link to your website. That's it, right? What is the cost of me sending that to the 5,000 people that we have in Cole Realty for the West or for Greenwich Village? Nothing, right? And I can get my face in front of 5,000 people. And yes, people are going to unsubscribe from it. And yes, people are going to be like, how'd you get my information? But who cares, right? All I'm trying to do is get my name out there more. On Wednesday, I'm going to send a postcard, right? And this campaign just has two things that you'd kind of pay for. Again, if you don't want to pay for anything, you can replace these with other actions. Maybe on Wednesday, you go talk to people in all the restaurants in the neighborhood, right? And introduce yourself in case they ever have any clients looking to rent something or buy something. In this case, I'm going to send an I have a buyer postcard because I do have a buyer who's looking for a 2-bedroom condo in Greenwich Village or the West Village, right? So I'm going to send a postcard to a bunch of condo buildings saying, hey, I have a buyer who's looking in your neighborhood. Have you thought about taking advantage of the low inventory and selling, right? That's Wednesday, right? How long does that take me? Probably takes me about 15 minutes to do that, to get the list through the design center and to send it. 15 minutes, right? So to send that first email probably takes me about 5 minutes to write it and about 5 minutes to send it. This is another 15 minutes. And again, on Friday, what I want to do is I want to invite people to open houses, right? If I have a listing, right? I have a rental listing in Greenwich Village, I'm going to invite people, right? And I take that same list that I sent to on Monday and I invite them to the open house that I'm having on Friday. What if I don't have a listing? Then what do? Well, you could say, hey, there's some great open houses going on this weekend. If you'd like more information about them, let me know what you're looking for, and I'm happy to send you over what can be seen and send a link to your website, right? Easy peasy, right? Or you can send a link to my listing to that neighborhood. Or again, you can ask another agent at the company if it's okay to invite people to their open house, right? We have many open houses going on every weekend. So if you don't have your own listings, you can send them for other people with their express permission. Easy. Right? 3 things that I did over the course of a week, all targeting Greenwich Village, that are helping them to potentially make a move in real estate. Week 2, what am I doing? I'm going to send another mass email on Monday, right? And consistency is key with all of these things. Monday, I'm going to say, what's happening with interest rates, right? Maybe I get a little bit of a blurb from Doug to put in here, what the interest rate would be on a X purchase with good credit, whatever it is, right? You can send out information to people, letting them know that it's a great time to buy, right? And it's a great time to be pre-approved. I spoke with a friend yesterday who was not thinking about buying anything and was looking at places and said, oh my God, I love this. And I said, do you know how cheap it would be for you to get this with putting 20% down? And they're like, no. I'm like, remember last time you were looking to buy? And she was looking to buy about 5 years ago. I said, do you remember what interest rates were? She's like, yeah, I think it was like 5% or something like that. I'm like, well, you're at like probably close to 2.5% now. And she was like, oh my God. And she's talking to a mortgage person now. On Wednesday, what you can do is, again, you want to get your name out there more. And what are great ways of doing that? Going after for sale by owner listings, right? So all you're going to do is take a minute, go onto Zillow, see what's for sale by owner, call them, introduce them, and see if you can go preview the property, right? How long is that going to take you? In most neighborhoods, there's maybe tops of 5 listings for sale. And all you say is, hey, I'd love to come preview it. I like to know what's on the market. And maybe you get into a conversation with them, and maybe you get something that you can advertise. You can say, hey, I go meet with them and stuff like that. And again, Friday, an invitation to the open house, right? Maybe that for sale by owner went really well, and you can say, hey, I'd love to bring people to this. Is it okay if I invite them to your open house? I can send this to 5,000 people in the neighborhood. Who wouldn't say yes, right? Who would not say yes to you helping them advertise something they're selling on their own, right? And so again, tie-ins are helpful. On Wednesday, we called for sale by owners. Maybe we went to go see one on Thursday, and we're inviting people to come see it on Friday. Next week, right? Week 3, quick market report from Urban Digs, right? You can pull together an infographic snapshot in about 2 minutes. And all you're doing is sending it to the same people saying what's happening this week in your neighborhood. Again, maybe you're targeting one building and you just want to get into a relationship with people. So a handwritten note. Hey, I've always loved your building. I've sold in it. If you have any interest in selling, please let me know. I have a couple people who've asked to buy my unit that I have, but they haven't wanted to, right? And again, it's about building a relationship. And again, Friday, I always do those invitations to open houses, be it yours, be it someone else's with their permission. Again, just getting out there what's going on in the market. Week 5, right? I have a buyer, right? Because hopefully all these things that you've done have gotten you to the point where you have a buyer now to work with. And if not, take an Opcity lead, take a Realtor.com lead, take a StreetEasy lead, whatever it is, right? Because you can take that buyer that you have and leverage that to reach out to people in a neighborhood. Call expired listings in the area, right? Call the owners and just talk to them, right? On Friday, again, have an invitation to the open houses that are happening that weekend in the neighborhood. Or maybe you change it up, right? Maybe you say, hey, great investments in your neighborhood, and you can do some math and figure out what can happen and some things that are happening in terms of investment, right? Again, week 5, I apologize, these numbers got all wonky, but what are some great options for rent and sale in the neighborhood, right? Maybe you find something great with outdoor space, right? And you're not sending the listing, but you're saying, hey, if you thought about buying for $3,500 a month, you can buy something with an amazing outdoor space. Or, hey, have you thought about renting something? There's some great 2 bedrooms with a roof deck for $6,000 in the neighborhood, right? On Wednesday, sending out some squeeze pages for sellers to maybe get some more listings, advertising them on Facebook and things like that. And again, Friday invitations, right? Tell people what's going on over the weekend. Again, this is the probably most basic way you can do this, right? Because these are all really simple. 90% of these things that you're doing are free. And what you can do is you can really amp this up. And again, you can make it work based on what you have, who you're working with. Again, always pivot based on if you're talking to buyers or sellers or renters, right? Because you can do everything. This is just about you getting a foothold in a neighborhood, getting more people to work with in a neighborhood, and really focusing on building your business, right? These are all simple. Most of these are free, right? The only person you have to blame for your lack of business is you. And again, I'm saying that not to anyone on the call, but to everyone, right? The only person getting in the way of your success in this business is you, because you are not doing the things that you need to do to be successful, right? You're not taking the time to do these very simple things to be successful. And so it's important that you start to do these things, right? And again, I can say this a million times, right? I can keep saying this every week after week. We do these workshops week after week. I go over plans like this, but you are the only one who's in the way of your success, right? So figure out a way to get going and to move on and to start doing these things, right? Because you are your own worst enemy. And I'll leave it at that. Again, just going into, if you have a buyer and you want to be very specific about that buyer, right? If you have someone who's looking in Gramercy, right? Then do these things, right? Send out a looking for a property mailer, right? I've done these before. I don't know where mine is. Let me see if I can find it. It's near here, but I have a buyer. Again, I've sent it to buildings before. I've sent it to a whole neighborhood. I have a buyer looking for a condo in your neighborhood. Nothing's on the market, right? You can follow up with them to see if they received it and ask if they thought about selling. You can send the marketing flyer also. Again, follow up on that to the neighborhood through my Weichert. Text them to see if they know of anyone in the building looking to sell, and that's after you've established contact with them. Send out a market report, right? Send out through Urban Digs and continue to tell them, I have a buyer looking to move to the area. If you thought about selling, there's nothing on the market that matches what they're looking for, right? If you find a place, then what you can do is you can send something saying, hey, I just found an off-market property mailing, right? And you can send it to people. If you thought about buying, if you thought about renting, if you thought about selling, follow up with calls, send out just sold emails once it sells, follow up with calls, right? A lot of this is taking what you have and building on it, right? If you have a buyer, what can you do with that buyer, right? I have Joe looking for a studio in Gramercy, right? Why am I not using that information that I have, right? Joe, Gramercy, studio. Send out to everyone in Gramercy saying, I have a buyer looking in your neighborhood. There's nothing on the market. If you thought about selling, please let me know. I'd love to bring them in, right? That's it. Super simple. And your business will build just from doing that one step, right? Yes, we're all excited to have that one buyer, but think of it. Every time we have one buyer, we should be able to use that buyer to get more listings. We should be able to use that buyer to find them something. We should be able to use that buyer to get sellers to work with, right? And so it's important to leverage every single lead you have and every single person that you have. Again, the same thing if you have a listing, right? Just listed mailer. You call people, see if they received it. Send an open house email and the flyer through my Weichert. Text people to invite them. Follow up with the open house, especially if they're interested. Reminders of additional open houses. Show them additional options that are out there, right? Send a market report letting them know what a great value this is. Send a price reduction or in-contract mailer. Follow up with calls to people that came. Are you interested in selling, right? Send the just sold email or the in-contract mailer when you're in contract. Make sure they received it. Follow up, right? Again, every time you have a listing, you should be getting a bunch of other listings from having that. And the same thing, right? This is all about circle prospecting within the target areas you're working, right? Maybe you want to turn people who are renters into buyers, right? And so maybe you send a postcard to an expensive rental building. There are tons of them in New York City, right? And you can send it to the entire building with the click of a button. Call and see if they received the card. Say, have you considered buying? Send a marketing flyer, right? Do the follow up with them about the mortgage rates, the interest rates. Send them what's on the market. Follow up, right? So this is what circle prospecting is about. It's about picking one area, sticking to it, and going in depth. And again, you can do it specifically to turn renters into buyers. If you have a listing, if you have a buyer, or you can do a really, really mixed campaign to do as much as you can. So again, I'm not going to go into the details of how to do all these because everything I've mentioned on here, right? Everything on this thing, mass emails, postcards, invitations to open houses, right? Handwritten notes, for sale by owners. There are videos on YouTube of these that I put up, right? So you can go and you can do all of these things and you can just watch the videos again and see exactly what I did, right? For calling for sale by owners, for going after expireds, right? So I'm not going to go into that today. But you have a lot of resources, right? You have Liesel, our MTS, who can help you put together the campaign, right? And you can help put together a campaign for 5 weeks in the MyWhiteGrid system. Again, she will be in the office on Thursday. And so if you haven't met with her, set up a time to meet with her. Her time is going quickly. She's got a lot of people she's working with, but she does have time. So really set up something. Again, watch the YouTube videos. We have Cole Realty for those targeted lists. In YouTube, you can see how to pull the list from Cole, put them into your MyWhiteGrid system. How to send the mass emails, how to do squeeze pages, how to do landing pages, and how to follow up with all the clients that you're going to get, right? How to use the MyWhiteGrid system, right? So you have everything you need, even in this little nutshell, to totally start taking over a neighborhood, right? So go do it. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to end the recording.